Ops 3 is going on the better part of 2 years being an active title at this point in time, and it's something that there's been a lot of changes made since the early alpha, the beta, the launch, and even up to a couple of months ago there's been some things that have been changed around, and as such, with so much time to let everything within Black Ops 3 sink into our brains and minds, there's a lot of times in which we may not remember some certain specific things that are pretty interesting to take a look at in the grand scheme of things within Black Ops 3. So with that said, we're gonna be doing another episode here of the 5 things you may not remember from Black Ops 3. And as always, let me know down in the comment section down below how many of these did you guys know, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, if you guys remembered all 5 of them, or how many, or if any at all. Let me know in the comments as you follow along here with these, but with all that said and out of the way, let's jump into our 5 things within this episode. Starting out at number 1 here, kicking us off today, is actually a specialist change that's been something from the alpha changed out about, and it was changed in the beta, so it's something that what you saw in the beta is still the current version now, but the earlier alpha versions of Black Ops 3 are where this really stood out to players if you ended up seeing gameplay for it. This dealing with Outrider's Sparrow icon, that was something that was changed around a little bit now. So whereas currently it is the arrow, the bow and arrow and such, in which you can see it exactly how it would be if you ended up pulling it out and activating your Sparrow as Outrider, previously it was a little bit different. Instead, it was in the earlier versions of Black Ops 3, your quiver of explosive tip arrows as your icon for the Sparrow. As with other things that we've talked about in this series, it's also one of those that is available to be seen in the multiplayer reveal trailer for Black Ops 3, and with that footage you can see it clear as day that it is completely changed around, and while it is something that denotes a more accurate representation of what you'll actually be using, it's an interesting change nonetheless, and one that doesn't necessarily end up changing anything in terms of how you would end up playing it, but it's just intriguing nonetheless. Now, the second thing you might not remember actually deals with how the game itself was played, and it was something that definitely changed the meta of Black Ops 3 at the time. During the beta, the unlock system for weapons was actually rather different for 2 classifications in particular, that being the assault rifles and the SMG. Back in the beta, the ARC-7 or the KN-44 as it's known now, and the Man-of-War were the default assault rifles, and then following after that was the HVK, the Shiva, the M8, the XR2, and finally a classified weapon that was withheld from the beta, that being the ICR. Now of course, as you guys know, just by simply taking a look at the XR2 and how late that was unlocked, this has changed around a lot, so these are all jumbled here with that, but in terms of the SMGs, it's currently the Kuda and the VMP are the defaults, that then followed by the Weevil, the Vesper, the Pharaoh, and then the Razorback, and then of course the DLC weapons that are thrown in there intermittently, and those aren't necessarily unlockable, so you don't need to worry about at what rank you end up getting them, but in the beta, it was the Kuda and the Weevil as defaults, followed by the Razorback, the Vesper, the VMP, and then the classified Pharaoh that was not in the beta. What's also very interesting to me is that weapons like the M8 were unlockable at level 27, and the defaults like the XR2 were unlocked at level 37. So with that being said, it's interesting that these guns took longer to unlock for the weaker ones, and the more powerful ones were available almost upon launching up the beta itself. But that moves over into number 3 here at this list. That's going to deal with the Black Hat, a secondary that honestly is not used at all really anymore, and for good reason, because back in the beta, if you guys do remember this, it was something that was incredibly overpowered. You could hack almost any score streak in a matter of seconds. If you want to talk about the Wraith, Hater, Raps, anything that was in the air, it was down within a matter of say 5 seconds. Now it's been patched about many times, and more specifically right after the beta and launch is when it got the hardcore nerfs to it. It ended up being changed about to the point where the charge times feel like 2 times, 3 times, maybe even 4 times at some points in time for hacking things. So right now there practically is no real use to it at the moment. But back in the beta, it was incredibly irritating because anytime you got a streak, it was down within seconds, and it was one of those things that everybody ran. So when you really thought about going for streaks, you kind of had to second guess yourself, like, well, is it gonna be there for more than 5 seconds, or is it just gonna be a waste of my score? Should I equip something else? But it was something that was incredibly irritating, and I'm so glad that it did end up getting changed and nerfed in time. Now, number 4 here up on this list deals a little bit with streak icons in Black Ops 3 in the early formats of the game. Now, as mentioned with a lot of different things and such places being visible are that of the multiplayer reveal trailer, you can end up seeing different variations of the current Black Ops 3 score streaks and how we know them to be today, and you can see visual differences. First of which being that there's, of course, color to a lot of them, and more color in that sense that it's a lot more lively than just, say, more so drab, colorless versions that we have now, but also there's a lot more in terms of three-dimensional imagery. Something that there's a lot more shadowing, a lot more that makes the icons pop out of where they end up being displayed in their score streak listing. But if you were to compare that and take a look at where it is now, it's a lot less lifelike, and something that personally I enjoyed the earlier versions of this in Black Ops 3. Now, of course, these will never be changed to be fit back to what they were in the alpha, but it's interesting to see why they were changed. There's no real explanation ever given to it, but I think that these definitely look better as they were in the earlier versions. And the fifth and final thing deals once again with the alpha versions of Black Ops 3, but this time dealing with what happens when you get EMP'd or if a power core is up. You'll end up in the current versions having different static and things like that, but you'll end up having different indications for your HUD be completely out of whack. But previously, what was the only HUD indication was a little bit of a very bland progress bar that would end up taking some time to reboot itself, almost as if like a loading screen, but in that sense of a loading bar. So that said, that was the only thing in the early alpha versions, and it was something that once again was super bland, and I'm much happier with the version that we have now. So maybe you guys remember that one, maybe you don't, but that one was of course something that may very well be easy to forget. But that said, that's where we're gonna wrap up this episode of the 5 things you may not remember in Black Ops 3. And of course, let me know down in the comment section down below, how many of these did you guys get right? How many did you guys remember? 1, 2, 3, 4, or maybe even 5, or perhaps none of them at all. Feel free to also let me know which one of these changes and things that have been amended within Black Ops 3 are your favorite, or which do you think would be the best to be reverted back to what they were at an earlier point in time. Feel free to drop your thoughts, but hopefully you guys enjoyed, and if you guys did, make sure you drop a like down below. And of course, if you guys are new to the channel as well, make sure you guys subscribe to stay up to date with everything we have here regarding Black Ops 3, both multiplayer and Zombies with Zombies Chronicles, Call of Duty World War II, both multiplayer and zombies there as well, Modern Warfare Mastered, Infinite Warfare, all that good stuff. We got you covered here up on the channel. And finally, if you guys want to follow me over on Twitter, that is the best place to get connected with me outside of YouTube. Practically live on Twitter, so if you guys want to check up a conversation, asking me a question, whatever it may be, link is down there in the description below. But all that said and out of the way, hopefully you guys have a fantastic day. Mine's been Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.